I'm a strong believer that no matter what your background, no matter what style of music you play, improvisation is a real help to your musicianship. It really opens up your ears. It really teaches you how your instrument functions, and you'll never play music the same again. Hi, I'm Matt Greif. Welcome to this advanced lesson in improvisation. I want to get into some contemporary sounds in this lesson. We'll start with some very inside kind of sonorities, very consonant sonorities. I'm going to play a progression in E major, although it doesn't have an E major chord in it. The progression is F sharp minor 7, A, and then B, or B7. So you can think of this as the 2, the 4, and the 5 in E major. So within E major, there are 3 pentatonic major sounds. We're going to try pentatonics out first. There's the pentatonic built on the 1. So E major pentatonic. There's the pentatonic built on the 4, A major pentatonic. And then the 5, B major pentatonic. So as I play through this progression, I'm going to focus on one of those pentatonic scales at a time. And what it's going to do is going to bring out a different part of E major scale. It's just going to give us a different flavor. It's all going to be E major really, it's all going to be consonant, but certain notes will be emphasized when I think of one pentatonic versus another. So now let's improvise over that progression using one of those 3 pentatonic major scales at a time. I'll try to narrate each time I change from one to the other. Let's start on E major pentatonic. Then we'll go to A major pentatonic. Now to B major pentatonic. A pentatonic. So you get the idea. Every time I shift to one pentatonic scale from the other, the color really changes, even though I'm still within E major. So that's a really great way to fairly easily get a different approach to a progression than you may not normally take. So another way to stay within E major but get kind of a contemporary color is to think modally. So we're going to go through the modes briefly and then hear how they have a different effect superimposed upon this chord progression. So we're in E major, so obviously the major mode, Ionian mode is first, and then on the second scale degree is built Dorian, so we're going to have F sharp Dorian here. Dorian is like a natural minor scale, but it's got a raised 6th. And then we have G sharp Phrygian. A Lydian is another really super useful mode to improvise with. So A Lydian is like a major scale with a raised 4. Mixolydian would be next. Mixolydian is always built on the 5th scale degree of a major scale. That's like a major scale, but it's got a lowered 7th scale degree. Then we end up with C sharp Aeolian, which is the same as C natural minor, so we've seen that before. And then we lastly have D sharp Locrian to finish. Then we're back to E. So I'd like to improvise over this same progression, shifting from one mode to the other. Actually, I'm just going to focus on Dorian, Lydian, and Mixolydian. Those are kind of the big three for me when I'm teaching improvisation. They come up over and over again. So let's hear that F sharp Lydian sound over this progression. A Lydian. And now thinking B Mixolydian. So the chord progression agrees with these three modes that I was shifting around to. F sharp minor chord, so F sharp Dorian goes really well there, although, and then same with A major, A Lydian, B7, B Mixolydian. So you could shift every chord if you wanted to, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm taking one mode and stringing it across the entire diatonic progression. You can think chord by chord, but on such a fast moving progression, it's not really practical. Plus, I like the flavor that you get when you superimpose F sharp Dorian over a B7 chord. So that's really my aim here. So you can hear there's lots of different qualities, easily obtainable. All you really have to know is the E major scale, but practice, say F sharp Dorian, practice with a different root as you're working your way through that E major pitch set. So now let's talk about working in some more outside sonorities onto this progression we've been dealing with. It's a 4-bar progression, so it's F sharp minor for measure, A for measure, and then B7 for 2 measures. So what I want to do is I want to play inside for the first 2 bars and then outside on the last 2 bars. So what I'm going to do is use a couple scales used a lot in jazz improvisation to go outside over the B7, and then I want to resolve back to F sharp minor at the beginning of the next 4-bar phrase. So the first scale I want to give you is the B half whole diminished scale. In classical theory, it's called an octatonic scale. And it's a scale that you get when you alternate half steps and whole steps. So we go from B to C, and then up a whole step to D, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, and a whole step up to our root, B. So in jazz terms, or harmonic terms, what's really going on here over the B7 chord is we have the root, the flat 9, or a lowered second, a sharp 9, a regular third, a major third, a raised 4th degree, or you might call that a sharp 11 in jazz, or a flat 5. Then the 5, F sharp. Then the 13, or regular, a natural 6th degree, G sharp. And then flat 7, A, and then finally to our root. So many of those tones are altered. Many of those tones are outside of our normal scale that we would use in this chord progression. But we're going to use that to create some tension and resolve back, as I was saying, as we move back into the F sharp minor chord. So let's check that out. So another scale we can use to get this altered color is a scale, in fact, called the altered dominant scale, or it's also known as the Superlocrian mode, which sounds very fancy, but really it's just a mode of melodic minor. So let's think about melodic minor for a moment. If we take D melodic minor, really what it is a D minor scale with a raised 6th degree and a raised 7th degree. And in jazz and a lot of pop improvisation, that scale is not changed when you descend, unlike classical theory where it's often taught to lower the 6th and 7th degrees when you descend through that scale. So let's just think of it as that sound up and down. And if we take the 7th mode of D melodic minor, we get C sharp Superlocrian. The same notes, it's just that now I'm hearing C sharp as my root. And so like the half whole diminished scale, it's got lots and lots of altered tones. In fact, the first half of this scale is exactly the same as the half whole diminished. Okay, so we have the root, we have the flat 9, we have the sharp 9, we have the 3rd, we have now the raised 4 or sharp 11, flat 5, and then we have the A natural, which is the flat 13, and then the B is the flat 7, and then we are back to our root. So almost every tone in this scale is altered. That's why it's called the altered scale. So there's no C sharp 7 in our progression. So what I'm going to do is superimpose this sound onto our progression. So it's going to really sound potentially pretty outside. But because C sharp 7 is the 5 of our first chord, F sharp minor 7, the superimposed sound is going to sound like we're implying the dominant, going back to the F sharp minor. So it's going to be fine. And anytime you take an outside sound, as long as you're clear about it, in other words, you're playing a scale, you're playing an arpeggio or what have you, as long as you're playing a coherent idea, it's going to sound like it makes sense. Even if it's dissonant, it's going to sound like you're meaning to imply that color. As long as you resolve out of it nicely, it'll sound really great. So that's what we're going to do here. We're playing the same chord progression, but at this point on the B7, I'm going to imply this this altered kind of dominant sound. C sharp 7 going back to F sharp minor. So another way to achieve this outside kind of sonority, this altered sound, is to use pentatonics, but not in their normal kind of obvious usage. What I'm going to do is take our same progression, but on this B7 area, I'm going to superimpose C major pentatonic. And it's going to sound interesting, it's going to sound altered. There are some notes within this that are going to actually come from the B altered dominant scale. So our ear will recognize them in that way, but also just the fact that we're playing one coherent thing, C major pentatonic. Even though it's going to sound strange in a way on top of the B7, again, the ear will accept it as just an outside color, as a certain kind of spice that you're putting on top of the B7. As long as you resolve out of it, and that's the trick. It does take quite a bit of drilling into that C major pentatonic and out into F sharp minor, which is the first chord of the progression, right? So that's really where I want to try to resolve. But it's a great effect and very guitar friendly. Any of these pentatonic scales are always pretty friendly as far as the layout on the fingerboard. Now let's try F major pentatonic. Same kind of thing. A few unusual tones superimposed on that B7. I hope you've enjoyed these lessons on improvisation. I'm a strong believer that no matter what your background, no matter what style of music you play, improvisation is a real help to your musicianship. It really opens up your ears. It really teaches you how your instrument functions. And you'll never play music the same again. You'll have a deeper, more immediate relationship to the music that you're putting out there. So good luck. Thanks for watching.